In the book of Habakkuk, he lists out 3 main things that he's like confused about with God. He's like, why are you doing this? Why are you letting this happen? He does this 3 times, and 3 times God gives him answers for these 3 questions. And at the end of the book of Habakkuk, he eventually realizes who God is and who his character is, and actually what the heart of God is like. And I just want to read you a part of it from Habakkuk 3, verses 17 to 19. And it says, "Even though the fig trees have no blossoms, and there are no grapes on the vines, even though the olive crop fails, and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields and the cattle barns are empty, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, able to tread upon the heights." And when I read this, I just thought that was so amazing. It starts off in verse 17 by saying, even though the fig trees have no blossoms, you could transfer that to anything in your life. Even though things aren't the way I want them right now, even though things aren't happening the way I want them to, even though my life maybe isn't where I thought it would be by this point, even though, I didn't have a good day today, even though all those things, it says, yet I will rejoice in the Lord at verse 18. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. So God is saying, and it to Habakkuk, he's been saying to him throughout the whole book, like, look, I know that things aren't going to always be what you want, but eventually Habakkuk has come to the realization that even though I've got these questions, even though things are happening that I don't know why they're happening, even though things that are not joyful all the time are happening, Habakkuk has come to the realization that God is good, and that he needs to just rejoice in God and know that God's got it all under cover. God already knows what's going to happen. He's got it all under, he knows what's happening, and Habakkuk just needs to rest at ease knowing that it's okay that he's got questions. It's okay that sometimes we get confused and we're like, okay, God, but why are you letting this happen? Why is this, what is going on right now? It's okay to be confused and act like that. That this book is literally representing the questions that we have, and also the questions that maybe aren't mentioned. God is still okay with you asking these questions. That's a good practice of your faith. But God is like trying to teach Habakkuk that even though you've had these questions, even though I've answered these questions, you still need to just rely on me and know that I am all that you need, and that God is our strength. And it's just amazing to see at the end of this book of Habakkuk that even though he's had these questions and he's had these, doubts, that at the end he's actually satisfied and known, actually, you know what, I'm okay that I've got these doubts. I'm okay that suddenly sometimes I get confused in my faith. But, at the end of the day, I'm going to trust in God and know that he's got it under cover, and that I can rejoice in him. So I just want to encourage you today that whatever your even though is, whatever is holding you back, whatever you want to fill the blank in with, that it's okay, and God knows your heart, and he knows that we suffer and we struggle with certain things, but he wants you to know that you can rejoice in him, and he is the only place you will find true joy. Nothing else in this world will give you the satisfaction that God can. There's other things that, will give you temporary joy. You might do something for a day and be like, well, that was really fun, but you'll find that your heart longs for something more. You long for something deeper. And it says here, the sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me sure-footed as a deer. And I don't know if that deer might just spring back to another bit in the Bible, but for me it springs back to when we're thirsty. And it says in the Psalms that as a deer pants for the water, so my soul longs for you. And I think that's just so amazing how it kind of links. It's just come to me now that, we long for God like a deer longs for water. And this thirst is not just like I'm a little bit thirsty for water, like it's a severe thirst. It's like drought thirst. And it's just amazing how God can fill that thirst, and only he can do that. So I just want to encourage you that whatever doubts, scares, whatever things that are not going your way, whatever the even though is, how big or how small it is, you can trust in God today, and you can rejoice in the Lord. It also says in the Bible many times, rejoice in the Lord always. And I think that's just so amazing how repeated the Bible is. A lot of the messages within the Bible are repeated over and over again, because God knows that we suffer with these things. He knows that we find it hard to rejoice in him all the time. So he tells us it loads of times to be like, yeah, look, rejoice in the Lord always. He's always saying it to us, come on, you've heard me say this before, listen to me, I'm actually telling you what to do. He's given us the answers already. I don't know why we're not taking them. It's so funny when we read the Bible and we're just like, oh wow, I read that already, but like I've got the same issue again, or like I'm re-falling into the same pit. But God just keeps reminding us that we can rejoice in him, we can be glad in him, we can be joyful in him, because he is our strength. And it just, the same messages over and over again. So I really encourage you to read the book of Habakkuk. It's not long, it's 3 chapters, and you can just see how God is with us and how he wants to hear your thoughts and wants to hear your confusions and your worries. He wants to hear it all. He wants to hear all the joyful things as well. But he wants you to know that you can rejoice in him and be glad in him as well.